Possibly one of the biggest names we've had on our little podcast, Roll or Die. We have Daniel Kelly today. He is a judoka. He's a gym owner. He's a UFC fighter and coach, MMA fighter and coach, I should say. Has been part of the UFC, part of the Ultimate Fighter Nations, Australia versus Canada back in the day. That's where I first actually saw you, before I even knew you through the jiu-jitsu scene. Welcome to the show, Dan Kelly. Oh, and father. That's one of the most important things. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Father of two. That's it. No, thank you for having me on, guys.
Awesome. So you are currently, today we're doing this, and you were in quarantine in Sydney, is that right?
Yep, absolutely. Day 2 of 14.
Right. And what's it like being in quarantine? I don't think any of us have experienced that. Probably not one of our listeners has experienced that. So what's it like?
No, well, this is my third lot of quarantine. So so it's okay. I'm in the same hotel I was in the first time I did it, the Meriton in Sydney, and it's fine. We've got cooking facilities. I've got a laundry. So yeah, it's okay. It's not ideal, and I understand why we're doing it, and I agree with all of that stuff. We've got to be very careful about whinging about being in quarantine, especially with how everyone is. So I get it. I understand. I'm very happy that everything's normal in Australia and that the businesses and gyms especially are open. But it's not that much fun doing it. But I knew we'd have to do it going in. So we're just getting that little spiel out of the way first, because you get misquoted a little bit sometimes. And yeah, I get it. I understand why we're doing it. I'm not against it.
So just to be clear, Dan Kelly, everyone just said he really hates what Australia is doing right now with quarantine.
Exactly. We're pretty lucky, Dan, to get you on day 2 rather than say day 12 or day 11 or something like that. Yeah, how is it? How do you go in there 14 days? I know you've got a kitchen, etc., but like in general, just being that confined, how is it?
It's not fun, obviously. The first little bit's okay, but about day 9 to 12 or 8 to 11 kind of thing becomes really difficult, because you've done all the work that you needed to do. Like, I've got a heap of paperwork and stuff to catch up on. I'm doing some podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And then you just want to get home. I've already been away for over 8 weeks from home. So it's at least I'm in the same time zone. And also, we only found out we'll be able to come home 3 days before we left. So at some point, there was a possibility I would have been away for 6 months. Wow. So overall, I can't complain. We're in Australia. I'm going to get to go home for a little while. So I'm not going to complain. It's not super easy to do it towards the end, but I mean, it's first world problems. I'm complaining about sitting in a hotel room. And so it's not that bad.
Would you actually, like, let's say that was a possibility, you weren't going to be able to come back for 6 months, and obviously it could even be indefinite. Would you still go under those circumstances? Are you that all in on the Jake Matthews train and everything else? Would you just go?
Well, I was away primarily for the judo team. They're trying to get guys qualified for the Olympics, and our qualifying events are still running. And the decision we made was, if we couldn't get a flight back by the 17th of April, then we wouldn't come back until after World Titles in June. For those who didn't qualify, and those who did qualify, we wouldn't come back until after the Olympics, which is end of July kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of all in. I mean, I've been doing judo since I was 7 years old, and So, and Maria, my wife, is the high performance director. So she's kind of the one who sent me over here. And even though it's not easy for her being at home with the 2 boys, it's in some ways it's better me than her kind of thing. So yes. So I would have been all in. Jake was in there. Jimmy fights in 2 weeks, but when his fight got changed from the 27th a month later kind of thing.
Mhm.
We just said it's too long to be away. Like I need to get home. The business, the family needs me primarily. The business needs me as well. And yeah, so unfortunately, I won't get to go and see Jimmy beat up Anthony Smith. But you know, like we discussed all that very early, and the UFC chop and change what they're going to do, and they really don't care about anyone else other than their business. So that's what it is.
Some inside knowledge. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
You mentioned your lovely wife. I actually met her when I was a blue belt. She destroyed me. She's a very, very capable judoka. Did you guys meet on the judo mats, or like tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd known each other for quite a while, and then we got together about 2003, 2004. But yeah, I mean, she's a 5-time Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist, Commonwealth Games champion. She used to represent Hungary, and she was second in the European Championships once. So she's definitely, she's very, very, very good. Fought for a medal another 2 times for Australia at Worlds and Olympics as well. So, and one of those was after she had our first son. So yeah, she's an exceptional athlete. And last year she gave our eldest son one of her kidneys as well. So an incredible woman.
Maybe we could get her on the show one day. I wonder if she'd be interested in coming on and speaking. I don't know if that's her style, but that sounds like the kind of person we want to talk to.
No, I would. It's not, but I would love to see that.
Okay, cool. Well, please put in a good word for us, because we would love.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an amazing story.
Please do.
Wow.
It did take us several months to get you here, Dan. So let's just go one family member at a time. Are you comfortable at all talking about your son? You've been quite open, I think your wife also, especially on social media, about his health issues and things like that. For any of our listeners who don't know, are you comfortable to sort of share a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been no secret that he's had a heap of health issues. He's got a rare genetic disease called cystinosis, which is amino acid crystals attack all the organs in his body. And obviously the first organ to break down completely is the kidney. He had a kidney transplant the beginning of 2020. The timing of that was pretty good, because had it been a month later, potentially we wouldn't have been able to do it because of the whole COVID thing. So yeah, it's been a very difficult journey for him. Last year was difficult too, because while school was on in the first term, he couldn't go because he was on so many anti-rejection drugs, and it wasn't safe. And then school shut down in our state, and he spent probably 6 or 7 weeks of the year last year at school. So that was difficult for him. And then even the year before that, he was very fatigued a lot of the time because he was in kidney failure. So last few years haven't been really great for him. But yeah, look, Maria gave him her kidney. She's recovered okay. He's recovered okay. But it's always, I mean, the new kidney doesn't fix the disease. It's just something else we have to deal with him.
Let's just hope that science and technology keeps advancing to the point where something can be done, I guess, something permanent.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of research around gene therapy and all that kind of stuff, but it's about 3,000 people in the world have the disease, so it's very rare. But the gene therapy stuff is crossover to a lot more well-known diseases like cystic fibrosis and things like that as well. So if they can get a gene therapy for one genetic disorder, then potentially it can cross over to other ones as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, I really hope so. I mean, I'm an avid fan of biohacking and all of that sort of stuff. And I really do believe every year we can prolong ourselves. We're one step closer to being able to live a very long time. So, and cure all diseases and all that sort of stuff. So I live in a lot of hope for you, your son, for me, for all of us. None of us are spring chickens either, let's face it,
So, exactly.
I want to be around for a long time.
Yeah, and speaking of, sorry, Anton, I don't know if this was your turn for a question, but maybe you were heading in this direction anyway. We're all masters here, and I think Dan, you give a lot of hope to a lot of people out there with regard to your career and your record. So where's the future for you? What do you think? Are you going to keep on going, or?
Oh, look, I'm very fat now. Look, I was competing at a pretty high level until 40. I think I had my last fight in the UFC at 40. 40s, I mean, I don't want to say bad things about getting older, but 40 was a hard one, like physically and that kind of thing. But I still love jumping on the mat, still love sparring with the boys. But I think the competitive days are potentially over. I've got to face facts. I'm 44 this year. So, but yeah, I still enjoy getting on, and it's frustrating that you can't do the things you used to be able to do. But from a personal perspective, I have to look at it and go, I really didn't have very much respect for my body my whole sporting career. I didn't stop when I probably should have stopped for injuries unless they were major. So any soreness and everyday pain that I deal with, I have to just go, yeah, I accept it. It's no problem kind of thing. So.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I remember you on Tough. Like, as I said in the beginning of the show, that was my first ever experience with you. I think I lived on the Gold Coast at the time. It was back in 2013. So I'd not come to Melbourne. I'd not trained in any Melbourne gyms. And there's this guy, and I just remember your way of being on the show, like kind of taking the piss out of yourself, a bit scared, of the whole, like, I don't know what you were. Like, you can tell me more, but this is just a memory going back a lot of years now. Your knees were like held together by tape for every fight, like just load-bearing tape, just holding your body together. And yet you just kept going, and you kept in there. And like, just when, like, you've always been the guy I'm thinking, he's reached his limit now. He's gone, and then bang, you go another level and another level. Like, you just seem to, you got to push through, even when you're taking the piss out of yourself and you're openly, on the fence about whether you should even be going forward. It feels like sometimes, like that. Is that accurate, or is that well?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I mean, especially in MMA, when I got into it, I never expected to get anywhere near where I got to. I still had other goals and aims, but you've got to sit down after and look back and go, you know what? Like, starting a new sport at 35, you didn't do too badly. So that's that. That's kind of it. And I mean, if you take yourself too seriously sometimes as well, it's not great. It's much better to go, well, this is what it is. I am an old guy. Yeah. I'm probably a few too many gray hairs. That's just what it is. You take a lot of, especially in the sport of MMA, a lot of people take themselves far too seriously. Yeah. And they become a little bit diva-like, I think, sometimes. And I was really surprised, and I've said this to a lot of my fighters as well, is that when I got into MMA, I expected it all to be really tough guys. Yeah. But actually, not all MMA fighters are actually tough guys. A lot of them are princesses, a lot of them are divas, and it's not as So that actually made it a touch easier for me, because I was like, well, I can still be one of the toughest guys in the room, kind of thing. I can push. I don't need to be on top, like physically athletically, let's say, because I'm a little bit older, and that was good. And all the mental durability that I learned through my judo career crossed straight over. And that's how I coach as well. There's a lot of similarities between judo and MMA that has crossover. There's some non-negotiables on both sides that athletes need to have to be able to move forward.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no, I was just reading up on some of your quotes, Dan, and I'm just reading. In 2006, I did my medial ligament, ACL, and lateral meniscus. Then I did my medial and lateral meniscus again. But as long as I can keep it taped up, then I'm good to go. I've been taping it up the last 4 fights. As you said, I can do anything. I've been taping my ankle since I was 16. They've got bone spurs floating around in them. But being 40 at the end of the year, I don't want to go in and get surgery. If I can tape it like this, I can fight at a pretty high level, I think. So it's pretty much, there's not a lot left of your knee by the sound of it.
No, it's not great. It's not great. To be honest,
he doesn't have a knee.
It hurts.
Somewhere in there.
It's not great, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I would want that on my tombstone if I was you, Dan Kelly.
Yes. Yeah. And just changing tack a bit here, it is a little bit, this is a jiu-jitsu podcast. So for myself, like I've just recently finished reading Drysdale's book, The Closed Guard, which talks a lot about judo and jiu-jitsu. So you are probably the highest level judo person almost in Australia, I'd say. How do you see that, like the link between judo and jiu-jitsu? Like,
so sport jiu-jitsu now, much like sport judo, has moved away from where it used to be. So probably, I sound old now, but about 10 years ago, they were much closer, where you'd fight to get on top. That was the whole aim, whereas now there's a lot more 50-50 stuff, there's a lot more leg lock stuff, a lot more getting inverted, which doesn't cross over as well to MMA. But alternatively, say in judo, there's no more leg grabs in high-level judo. So no one knows how to deal with a double leg anymore or anything like that. So they branched away from MMA. MMA jiu-jitsu or MMA grappling and takedowns is much closer to what everything used to be. And I've trained with Drysdale before. I've been to one of his seminars, one of the few seminars I actually went to, and it was really, really good. So I get that they used to be closer than they are now. But all that is the evolution of the sport side of things. And obviously everyone wants to follow where the sports side of it is, and then you get us older ones that are still just want to. The aim is to get on top of your opponent and work that way. So it has evolved a lot over time. I mean, the guys at St Kilda Absolute are a really high level sport, BJJ guys now, and obviously we've had to go that way as well with our senior judo program. So it's just different sports, different outcomes to win. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And the Whip to Warrior program, did you come up with that? Was that your baby?
No. So I got approached. I was Whip to Warrior has been around for ages, and it's awesome. I love the concept. I was over in Ireland, and I ran a session at SBG over there. John asked me to run a session. And then I got back, and the owner of Winter Warrior is a guy who lives in Sydney, Richie Cranny. Right. And he approached me and said, would you like to run Winter Warrior program? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And it's awesome. I know that Absolute have got one now, which is really good, but I love the concept. People, it's a whole heap of different reasons why they do it. It's a bucket list item for them. It's fast tracking someone who's maybe struggled to finish things in the past or start something and not finish it and follow through. It's actually a really good vehicle to go, I've got 20 weeks to do this, and they can get through it. And we've had great success in our first 2 seasons with that. And a lot of them are still around. They're either training somewhere else closer to home, or they're at Resilience still, or they're always dropping by to say hello. But it's fantastic. I mean, you have to do at the intro sessions or the try-outs, you have to do a why you're here kind of thing. And then I always break it down into there's 2 sorts of people who are here. There's people who are already successful and they're trying to add another string to their bow, do something a little bit uncomfortable. Like I've had social workers who've come in or vets who go, I want to do something to put myself out of my comfort zone for personal development. And then you've got the people who actually really need it. The ones who are struggling with life in general or finishing things. And it's actually like a fast track to being able to start something, finish it, make a big achievement, and then move on from that. And we've had some great success with that too. There's also along the way people who haven't been able to break that habit. But I've got some really good coaches who run Wim to Warrior as well. Normally I'm in there running it as well, and they normally get on their asses and make sure they come in and finish and push them along too. But I love Wim to Warrior. Love it.
Well, we've had Marianne on the show. She was our first ever guest, and she talked.
Oh, really?
And it was an amazing. She raves about it, man. So it's a real credit to you, to Resilience, to Wim to Warrior. Yeah.
she's awesome. Marianne's awesome. So yeah, no, and she's one of the successful ones who wanted to do something a little bit uncomfortable, didn't know anything about MMA. Yeah. And that's the same as the guy who got her into it, Alberto, who's a social worker. So they're people who wanted to do it, to do something different, to throw themselves out of their comfort zone. And Marianne's awesome. Awesome. And I know she's still training at Absolute as well. So it's great.
She's moved to Clifton Hill now. She's at Clifton Hill Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Kim.
Do you train jiu-jitsu at all, Dan? Or like what's your
a little bit. I run at Resilience, Cal and I run Monday night no-gi together because it's our busiest session, and we normally I do a lot more of the MMA grappling stuff. So the MMA fighters will do situations closer to that, and then I'll roll with the guys on a Monday night and on a Saturday. But straight jiu-jitsu or gi jiu-jitsu, not that much. Couple of reasons. One, I'm probably lazy to train, and two, my body's not great at all, and it's just hard. I keep saying I want to get into a routine, and then I go away for 8 weeks. So it is on my list of things to do.
3, if anyone even looks at your knee, it will explode.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I still love jiu-jitsu. I really enjoy rolling with the guys at the club, but any kind of training, I don't do that much anymore. Unfortunately.
You also mentioned podcasts. Do you have a podcast of your own at the moment? Or you get
No.
No.
I'm not.
He's just an in-demand guest, Anton.
I'm not. I like coming on, but I've got enough things to do without having a podcast as well. It's like, that's the thing. I think all the coaching, running the business, the Wim to Warrior, family, that's enough. That's enough for now.
Oh yeah, you're a busy man. Like I said, it's taken us several months to pin you down. We had to wait till you were in quarantine when you couldn't leave to be able to get this podcast happening.
Perfect time. You'd be surprised how crappy Wi-Fi was in some of the countries I was in. I mean, I was in Georgia, I was in Turkey, I was in Kyrgyzstan, and it's just the Wi-Fi was terrible in Kyrgyzstan, especially. Like it was almost a pointless exercise doing anything on Wi-Fi. So that's why this is perfect time right now.
Yeah, great. And so you said you were mostly over there for judo, and I guess it sort of slipped probably through the cracks a bit because of COVID, but the Olympics are coming up. So how's Australia's judo team looking? Like what's their preparation like? How's it? Yeah.
It's small at the moment. We've still got a couple of qualifying events left. I mean, I hope we get a team of 4, possibly a team of 3, but we have to. Qualifying is really difficult now for judo. We don't have an Oceania anymore. We're now in Asia, and it's a world ranking list as well. So it's top 18 in the world, or top 18 countries in the world per category go, and you get 1 quota spot per region, or 1 quota spot for most countries. So I'm hoping to get at least 2 to 3 directly qualified, and then the quota spot. So it's it's really, really hard. And then COVID's been difficult for us too. I mean, we were overseas competing in January. We're away for 10 days, and we had to come home and do 2 weeks of quarantine, and that stopped a lot of the momentum for this next trip, and that's why we stayed away for so long. But it was an absolute circus. We were stuck in Istanbul airport for 3 days because we couldn't get access to Spain. And then luckily, because Maria's Hungarian, we got to be able to go to Hungary. But it was a messy, messy trip. It was really hard on the athletes, and they did a great job to keep focused and compete reasonably well as well.
That sounds really stressful, like in airports, not knowing where you can and can't go next and how you link things up. That just sounds like are you the one who does all of that coordination? Are you the admin guy?
I'm partial admin guy. I'm admin guy on the ground. I mean, I think we would have had about probably 30 tests in the 8 weeks we were away, just testing everywhere. And you've got to line up times so that there's suitable amount of separation between some, but not enough separation to get onto flights, being able to go to training camps, Yeah, Maria did a lot of work at home as well, but we lost baggage along the way. Yeah. We had to have one girl quarantine in Israel because they put us on a chartered flight, and she was sitting 2 seats away from someone who ended up being positive.
Wow.
And then obviously overseas, so they ask a whole heap of questions now. They go, have you had COVID in the last 6 months? Are you vaccinated? Now, if you tick either one of those boxes, you're kind of free to go. But because Australia, not many of us have had COVID, and at that stage, no one had been vaccinated, they kind of go, well, you have to stay. So she had to stay in Israel. Then she only had 2 carry-on bags to travel forward. We had someone else lose a bag. Then we were on a bus, 3 buses with the Hungarians to go to international training camp. And we found out someone on the other bus who hadn't been at training with us for almost 2 weeks, he was positive for COVID. So we weren't sure if we'd all have to go home or the others went home. Then he'd had COVID 6 months before. And so it ended up being a false positive. So because he tested negative the next time. So it's all very, very different. We did well. None of us got COVID. All of us were healthy. But yeah, it was a lot of navigating, to say the least. That's for sure. And we had in the last bit, we had 3 competitions in about 18 days. So it was challenging. Maybe less for some, 16, because it went like 6-day, 5-day break. So it was really tight.
Yeah.
It was
the Olympics are going to be interesting this year, that's for sure. I'm actually kind of a bit surprised they're still going ahead with it, given the global situation at the moment, I guess. But I suppose they've already postponed it 1 year, so they wanted to do it.
Yeah, I'm happy they're running it. I mean, the only time they've ever not had the Olympic Games is when it was World War II. So I am happy, and it's hard because I understand. I mean, it's a serious pandemic and all of that stuff, but at some point we need to carry on with things. It's just finding that balance between both sides, because everyone, if I've learned anything about, especially the time in Melbourne during the lockdown, everyone feels strongly about it, and it's mostly based on their own personal experiences or how it's affected them. So everyone's entitled to feel and think how they do. It's just, you need to be a little bit nice about it too. So it hasn't always been that way during this time.
Yeah,
for
What's
sure.
your experience like? Because I mean, you've been in the States with the UFC, with Jake Matthews recently, and on that note, actually, things didn't go his way, and it was a submission that he got caught with. Jiu-Jitsu podcast, be interested in your views about the submission, etc. If it was a while ago now. It was a while ago this happened.
It was when we first started trying to get you on, I think.
He's got a lot of work to do on his takedown defense and his defensive wrestling. We've spoken about it a little bit. Obviously, the day after the fight, I went back to Europe. He went back home. We've had a little bit of contact, but I mean, the kid's got so much potential still, and he's so experienced. There's some things that need to be worked on urgently for him to reach the level I think he can reach. And it's mostly around the grappling side of things. I mean, his striking's really good. Yeah. It's defensive wrestling and the capacity to scramble when you're underneath that needs work. And he's willing to do that. I mean, he's already made some inroads in terms of his strength conditioning stuff in between fight preps. And yeah, I mean, he's still got a huge potential, and he's only 26. So he's been in the UFC for close to 15 bouts already. So he's got work to do, but he's identified that, and we'll have a good chat when I finally get out of quarantine and set a structure for moving forward.
Awesome, man. That's great.
And for someone with your level of experience, it would be remiss of me not to ask, like, what advice would you give to someone that was just starting out, whether it be in MMA, in judo, in jiu-jitsu? I mean, yeah, we've talked a lot about your knees and about maybe what not to do, but what would you do? What would you suggest people do if they're sort of just starting, like, I'm not sure if this is for me, what would you say?
It's a it depends on age. If it's an adult starting, I definitely say start with BJJ because it's a lot easier on the body than judo. We have almost any adult who comes in who's 30 plus, we say do BJJ. You're going to enjoy it. It's probably at the moment, especially with how things were in the pandemic and coming out, it's an interaction thing. It's a great stress relief. It's really good for releasing endorphins, all that kind of stuff. And it's much more fun than walking on a treadmill by yourself or looking in the mirror doing some bicep curls and that kind of thing. So, I mean, obviously talking to you two, I'm preaching to the converted, but it's the combat sports are fantastic because they do fulfill a part inside of you that needs to be fulfilled. The human contact, the interaction. It's also great for overcoming issues with personal space, especially for our kids and things like that. I mean, with our kids program in judo, which is quite good. Well, it's good. It's big. Is that it crosses over to other sports? You know, learning how to fall properly means you can get up quicker on the netball court. Means you can get up quicker at hockey, get up quicker at soccer, get up quicker at footy. Are comfortable dealing with people close, body on body kind of stuff. So I more look at the benefits, especially the grappling sports. Look at the benefits externally rather than actually the specific sport. And then the specific, because the sports are awesome, judo and BJJ are awesome. They those side of things take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So that's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I guess as we get close to the end, are we, like you've said, Australia are handling it really well, okay? But when you travel to these other countries, is America handling it well? You know, are they living their best life right now? Are these other countries handling it well? I'm not asking you to make a judgment call that's going to be misquoted. I just mean, in your observations, do you think it's working? What each country is doing, is it working?
We're the envy of a lot of places in the world. That's talking to doctors, talking to people in quite a few different countries. America's a whole different animal unto itself. How people are doing bubbles are different. I mean, in Kyrgyzstan, it was like the wild, wild west. You know, like there were crowds at the judo event. There were teenagers who weren't in the bubble up on the training area mingling with the other judo athletes. So everyone's dealing with the disease differently. Yeah. And yeah, it's just if I didn't have to travel, I would say we're doing everything perfectly. The fact I have to travel, and that's where I come back to saying it's all down to personal experience. I go, okay, is there ways we can navigate it so that we can do it differently? What impact will a vaccine have on people traveling? We are doing well. We are doing really well, but in a lot of countries, people are just treating it like a cold or a flu. And then they go, oh, it's bad because the older people will die. They don't look at the younger ones. They go, the younger ones who pass away, oh, well, that was just an unfortunate thing. But they go, a lot of the older ones, and we've got to protect the elderly. We've got to protect the elderly. That's their big thing. Yeah. And everyone else is there like, well, what else are we supposed to do? We're supposed to do nothing. So, but again, we're fully open now. It's great. Like on the weekend, I got to watch about a quarter of the football. It's great to see crowds back at the footy. It's nice that things are going back to normal. It's just how they manage the whole vaccine rollout and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, then we'll just see. See. I mean, like I said, it's a small price to pay me sitting in a hotel for 2 weeks for everything to be normal here, which I'm really happy for, because during the lockdown, it wasn't great or fun being a gym owner, pardon me, and being closed for 8-9 months of the year. Yeah. So anything to avoid that, I'm more than happy with. But in the IGF bubble we were in and around that, if one state in Australia had the amount of cases that have been floating around that, then the whole state or country would be in lockdown. Wow. So everyone's dealing with it differently. But yeah, we are the envy of the rest of the world at the moment.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And at one point we weren't. In one point we were the opposite. We were like the police state of the world. So I guess the views keep shifting. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, Melbourne
exactly.
certainly was. Yeah.
Melbourne was. Yeah, and then it all comes. Then starts becoming a bit of a political opinion on how it was handled and all that, which I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well,
I did the intro. You can do the wrap up.
Yeah, we are nearly out of time. So thank you so much. As I said, it was a couple of months in the making to get you here, and we finally did it, and it didn't disappoint. Thank you so much. We'll get this out. We're a little podcast, but hopefully if you don't mind to share it, maybe we can grow our listener base a little bit more. So yeah, it's awesome to have you back in Australia, and thank you so much for giving up your time. As I said, you're a celebrity. I'm all starstruck here with you, and it's as Anton said, one of the biggest names we've had on. So you're internationally recognized.
Until his wife comes on, then that's
exactly. I'll hit her up for that. I'll definitely hit her up for that.
Please do. She's lovely. So yeah, thank you so much. We will have this out. Probably this will come out around the time that you actually come out of your quarantine, I think, at the turnaround that we do with our podcast. But really appreciate you giving up your time. Enjoy the next 12 days. Hopefully you get through it okay, and we might see you out there in the real world in person soon. Yeah, for sure. Thanks heaps for having me on, guys. It was great. Thank you. Thanks, cheers. Cheers, bye. Bye.